So in December of 2010, and just after Christmas, a murder took place in my area, and 2 of my close friends were arrested for that murder that month. And then in January 2011, another friend. April 2011, another friend. Then May the 7th, 2011, I turned 18, and literally having the time of my life, enjoying myself being 18 and all the things you do at 18. And literally 2 days after turning 18, I found myself arrested and charged for a murder that I didn't commit.
Wow. What's that feeling like, man?
It was just surreal in the sense of, at one level you think, do you know what, I'm going to be going to university to study philosophy, politics and economics, and instead actually your whole world turns upside down, and now you're actually going to be heading towards Fulton Prison.
Hello and welcome back to Life After Prison with Zach and Jules. Joining us today is Dr. Kenny Imafidon, an entrepreneur, author and criminal justice advocate from Peckham. While on remand for joint enterprise charges at 18, he became the first person in the UK to complete A-levels in prison. After being acquitted, he led the influential Kenny Report, which looked at various social issues, including youth justice, and co-founded ClearView Research, which is an organisation that amplifies unheard voices. He's also the author of That Peckham Boy and has been recognised with an MBE, an honorary doctorate, and listed in Forbes 30 under 30. Welcome to the sofa, Dr. Kenny Imafidon. How you doing, bro?
Doing very good, man. Thank you for having me.
Good, man.
Thank you for joining us. That is a long list there, Kenny.
Weighty resume.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we should acknowledge some of the, the stuff that's listed, massive achievements. Your book, Peckham Boy, That Peckham Boy, sorry. ClearView Research. Can you just tell us how it kind of feels to be in that position right now, having that long list?
No, it feels like a real privilege for me just to be able to be in the position I'm in, and a real blessing just to be able to. So we're going to talk about it today, but in terms of just where life was and where life is now, and just to know that I'm in this fortunate position where I can really be of help to so many people and show people what's possible as well.
And Forbes 30 under 30, like that's a wicked.
That's international,
That's
isn't it?
wicked.
That's serious.
I see people with that and I'm like, yes. Especially from where you have been, that feeling must be, how does it feel? Yeah.
It's all just, it's all just crazy, to be honest. But at the same time, I don't really think about all of this stuff, to be honest with you. Like day to day, it doesn't, outside of you just saying this now, I'm just trying to live my life and do what I'm doing. And I just take everything as it comes, and just grateful to God for just these things that happen, the lists I get mentioned in and stuff like that.
Humble.
Yeah.
But
Humility.
also, it's interesting to know how it does feel, especially when you might have been somebody sitting there thinking, what situation am I in right now? This is crazy.
Let's talk about the journey, joint enterprise and prison. Take us back to when you were facing what you were looking at and the feeling around it, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So in terms, just to give some context, I went to a school called Kingsdale, which was at that time a very terrible school in many ways. It's a school that most people wouldn't want to send their kids to. Now it's a school that has a long waiting list and everybody wants to send their kids there.
It's funny how them things happen, isn't it?
So it's totally crazy. But during my time at school, I did very well at school. I left school with 12 GCSEs, 5 that I got by the end of year 10. I was doing very well at school. Went on to college to study philosophy, politics, economics and history. I was studying philosophy from year 10 in English classes. But whilst all of this was going on, I was also making lots of money selling weed on the ends and around the place at the same time. So I was very much living a double life for most of my teenage years. So even when I went to college, at the same time, still holding up both lives. I was also getting work experience at that time. So I did work experience in City Hall in terms of when Boris Johnson was mayor. I also did work experience with the leader of the Labour Party at the time.
So what, you're doing this and hustling at the same time?
It's just when I was in work experience, I'll just put things on pause because I'm like, look, I can't afford to risk anything. But a big thing for me was always like, look, as I'm making this money and whatever I'm doing, this is never going to be my long game. Like I never saw a future for me in the streets. I just wanted to make money. I just wanted to shine. That was really it. There wasn't really anything more. This was never a long-term gain. Like when I was young, I used to look at the older guys thinking, I can never get that old to still be doing all this stuff anyway. So I knew no matter what, this was always for the short run. But yeah, so long story short, in my second year of college, I was studying the subjects I mentioned. And so in December of 2010, and just after Christmas, a murder took place in my area. And 2 of my close friends were arrested for that murder that month. And then in January 2011, another friend, April 2011, another friend. And May the 7th, 2011, I turned 18 and literally having the time of my life, enjoying myself being 18 and all the things you do at 18. And literally 2 days after turning 18, I found myself arrested and charged for a murder that I didn't commit.
Wow. What's that feeling like, man?
It was just surreal in the sense of at one level you think, do you know what, I'm going to be going to university to study philosophy, politics and economics, and instead actually your whole world turns upside down and now you're actually going to be heading towards Felton Prison. And I've gone to Felton Prison before to visit people and I've seen those big gates and seen the vans go through, but I never thought that would be me. And not because I lived some angelic life, but just because I thought that just wouldn't be me anyway. But instead, I just found myself in that situation.
Were you remanded then?
Yes, I was remanded for under joint enterprise.
Okay. How long were you? Did they tell you were facing?
So I was going to be facing 30 years because it was 1 murder, 2 counts of attempted murder, 2 counts of GBH,
wow,
possession of a firearm, possession of a knife.
And
so
all those charges are 30 plus even.
Yeah, so again, and I've just turned 18 and I'm looking at a sentence longer than the life that I've lived.
Crazy.
That is crazy.
Well, what does it take to stay motivated in order to complete your A-levels while you're going through this?
So I think a lot of it for me was just very much just my faith and just holding on to the fact that, you know, God, you can see this. And yeah, look, when I come out of the situation, hopefully, and obviously that's what I'm praying for, that I just want to be able to move on with life. So I didn't want to have to now do a whole another year. So I was just doing all I could in order to pass my A-levels, or do them in the first place.
Yeah. How do you even get to do them? Being the first person that's ever done it in prison.
So I had to, I spoke to the psychologist. So obviously when you go into prison, you speak to a psychologist to see how you're doing, ask you all these questions out of 1 to 10, how happy are you and all this jazz. And obviously whilst during that, I was like to them, look, if you really want me to be happy and make a difference, then one thing you could help me to do is let me do my exams. Then I also told the librarian that when I'd done my first visit to the library, but then the librarian actually said that the psychologist had made them aware. And then just another woman that was in the prison, I just kept banging on different doors till someone was like, look, actually, you know, I can help you here. And even when they went to my college at first, my college said no, but they just kept fighting my corner and helped me to make it possible.
Okay.
So even when you didn't know what was going to happen, you were like, I'm going to do my A-levels.
Yeah.
That's crazy, isn't it? Like as
conviction. That's serious conviction to have. You know, you got to be determined.
At 18 to be going through all of that and then think, no, I'm still studying.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Also, my legal team at the time thought, this guy's crazy. You should be focusing on your defense case. And if this doesn't go well, you will be spending the rest of your life and your A-levels won't mean nothing. But for me, it was more like, look, I've not killed anybody here. And so if I'm acquitted of this case, and when I get out, I want to be able to just move forward with life and not have to do my A-levels again.
Yeah, and pick up where you left off, essentially.
Literally. Was your mindset, this is getting acquitted?
I'd say I was hopeful, but there's days, isn't it, when it's just like, you don't know what's going to happen, right? Particularly when you get to the trial. That's when it gets very real. And someone's told you, look, this could be for 8 weeks. That is...
Well done. Great achievement to be doing that inside.
Sure. So then you just mentioned it, 8-week trial. How far into that did you then become acquitted?
Yes, so halfway during the trial, so after 4 weeks, so that's when my legal team applied for half-time submission. And then, that was the half-time submission in order for to have the case, to say I basically have no case to answer. And then from there, I came back the next day. But to be honest, the day when they went and they put the whole case forward to say that, look, there's no case against me, I remember just getting back to my cell that day. Now, before I got to my cell, I was able to just make a phone call. So I called my mum. I was like, look, mum, pray for me. Something tells me that I'm going home tomorrow. And then literally the next day I woke up, packed all my stuff, wrote a letter to the different people to give my stuff away to. And I remember just packing my bags and then seeing another guy who was going to court early in the morning. And he was just like, why are you packing your bags? Like, are you going home? I just thinking, just shut up, man.
Yeah.
And I just kept it moving. And then, that was literally the day that when I went back to court, I was acquitted. So I had lots of faith that day in that moment that, look, something tells me I'm going home today.
That's dope. What's the moment like though when you hear it though?
It's like time is pausing. It doesn't even feel real. Because it's like, it's genuine shock and it lasts a long time. I remember even getting home and it's like I just couldn't sleep still because I'm like, wow, like this is over.
Yeah, it's a lot to go through.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it. I don't know what I would be feeling. Like, how do you deal with the sense of injustice? You know, you've just lost, how long were you? 6 months?
6 months, yeah.
6 months of your life, critical moment, A-levels coming up. Like, how do you deal with that trauma and injustice?
Yeah, I think at the beginning, I was just so shocked to just be out in the first place. And also at the same time, very mindful that some of my friends are also on trial. So though I'm now free, I'm also very much concerned about what's going to happen with them, right? And so that was really what was on the forefront of my mind. And it's like life couldn't really move forward until this whole case is done. And also at the time as well, I thought, well, if I'm acquitted and they can clearly see that, look, there isn't any evidence there, then it should be, things should look better for them. But actually when it got to the end of the 4 weeks, one of them did get found guilty of all charges under joint enterprise, and they got sentenced 30 years to life.
Oh.
And then another friend who got a hung jury, he then got retrialed some months later, found guilty, got 26 years to life, and they've both been like appealing their cases since. So for me, this stuff is like, yeah, it's very real. It's not, saying what you said about the injustice, a lot of it is, there's just so much happening.
Yeah.
And I didn't probably realize how angry I was about it until like later on, because at the time, there's just so much stuff going on.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Because again, it's just that whole freedom, right? I remember literally, say, leaving the Old Bailey and then going to like the McDonald's round the corner.
Yeah, right around the corner.
Right around the corner.
Yeah.
And then literally asking the person serving me, can I get a straw? Forgetting that, oh yeah, you get the straw yourself. Because you're so used to having to ask for everything. And that's just even in a short space of time, right? And also just the shock of around locking doors. I was so forgetful thinking, have I locked the door, have I not? Because I haven't had to use a key for... So again, I can only imagine for other people. So this is like a lot of the real life stuff you're processing and going through. And yeah, just trying to build your life back.
When do you think it actually did kind of like hit you then? And that kind of feeling of, I don't know, yeah, unjust or...
So do you know, so I had a woman that I was just working with at the time. So this is the time when I was doing the Kenny report stuff, and we can talk more about that.
We'll definitely.
And I remember us having a conversation in the cafe, but she's a psychotherapist, and at the time, I didn't really even understand what that was all about. But I'd regularly have to meet her, and I just used to think, just ask me all these questions. And then one day she just asked me like, what are you doing that brings you joy or that makes you happy? And I didn't really have anything. And I think really in that moment, it helped me to process like, why are you not doing the things that make you happy or bring you joy? So though I was doing productive things, I wasn't actually really doing anything that just makes me happy and brings me joy.
That's a great question. What are you doing that actually
What were you
brings
doing?
joy? Yeah.
What were you doing?
I was doing work experience at the time.
Okay.
So of course that was productive and the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And it felt good, but it's not the same as like, for example, I wasn't playing football. And they're just things that I just like to enjoy. Forget about put work aside because everyone has to work, isn't it? Let's be honest. So it's just more of those other things I just weren't really doing.
So is that where the Kenny report was born in that moment?
No, so it's born before that. So,
okay, talk to us about that. What is the Kenny report? And
Yeah, so the Kenny report, so the idea came to me. So I had a mentor before I came to prison who wrote a report, and that report was very influential, and a lot of the Home Office ministers and people in the government really, they were fond of it, and I guess they really took the ideas on board. So I learned a lot to see the impact of what a report can have in terms of influencing government and policy change and so on. So I thought, okay, this is cool. So then when I was released from prison, I had the idea that, look, actually, do you know, I'd like to do my own report because I've seen what my mentor at the time done. And I was like, do you know what, this is cool, but I want to do my own one. And I just went on that journey of saying, look, I want to write my own report. I had an academic, Professor John Pitts, who very much mentored me through that process. And then even meeting them, that was my mentor at the time. Jonathan Toe introduced me, brought me to his house.
Wow.
And then it's so funny, in that meeting, I was trying to pitch to him that I want to do this report. And he was like, I think you should do an article or something else. And I was like, nah, trust me, I need to do a report. And it's so bad, the person that brought me there, Jonathan, left. And I was like, no, I'm going to stay to really show him that, look,
this is what
I really want to do. And you need to really listen to this. And then I ended up convincing him that, look, support me to write this report and show me how I need to structure it and everything else. And then, I just went on that journey of interviewing people, looking at research that's out there. And so I came out November the 9th, 2011. And then November the 12th, 2012, I essentially launched the Kenny Report in the House of Commons. So literally
incredible, within, yeah. What does it take to put it together?
Just lots of time in the library, lots of research, talking to people, I was interviewing like MPs, all different types of people in order just to get their opinion, their expertise. But what I was really trying to show people was what are the different ways how people can get lured into this particular life of gangs and CSU violence, but then also what are the solutions. But within that, also showing people how the political or the social and economic environment doesn't help and makes a lot of people vulnerable to exploitation and particular lifestyles. But I wanted to show that from a perspective of lived experience plus academic expertise. And I was able to really do that. First person ever to do that in the UK, particularly as a young person.
Yeah, wow.
And backed by all these different academics. And yeah, so that was really the launch of my career and me getting into the research industry.
What change did you make with that Kenny Report?
Yeah, so a lot of it was more to do with practitioners. And I would always say, like, with reports, it's really about changing hearts and minds. And outside of, let's say, policy in particular, it's also about practitioners that are working with these groups of people. Do they start to change how they engage with them? Do they start to think about other contexts and environments when dealing with people? So again, yeah, I received a lot of people just contacting me to say, look, I'm using this report. Also to back up their case as well, because for many people, the thing about research and academia, until someone said it, then people don't sometimes believe it, if you get what I mean. So now people had something they could reference to say, look, in the Kenny Report, it actually talks about X, Y, Z.
I just wanted to also ask you, with the people that mentored you, how did you find those people, and where did you reach out to for that?
So the people that mentored me, so Jonathan Tag, I met him when I was shadowing his boss in Southwark Council. And then he came to present something, and then I just stayed connected. Other mentors, I feel like with mentors, you have to seek them out or be in the right place. And even when you're in the right place, make that connection, because that's always going to be a game-changing thing.
Facts.
We can have a whole conversation.
Mentorship alone, right? Definitely.
So talk to us about the business. So you then set up the business. What was the business?
Yeah, so the business is called ClearView. And so a lot of the work we do is helping brands, government department, public sector organizations, charities, foundations to better understand people from underrepresented backgrounds.
Okay.
Now, underrepresented can look different depending who you're speaking to. Sometimes that could be women, that could be young black men, people from South Asian backgrounds. It just really depends on the context and the client. So we work with everyone from, let's say, Spotify, who we just did a big project for, looking at youth culture and music and what young people think about spaces and whether there should be more investment in spaces even like this, what we're doing, to projects working around, let's say, when COVID, and also when that was a big thing, looking at what are people's attitudes towards taking a vaccine. So again, our business will get hired and would work with government and other stakeholders to help them to understand why people are taking it and also why people aren't. Because again, it's important that they have that information, to projects on how do we get more people from non-white backgrounds skiing. So again, working with companies in different industries that know they need to diversify their consumer base. And now you would have probably seen, we did that research about 3 years ago. You've probably seen the last 2 years alone.
A lot of people have been seeing it on timelines.
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff is influenced by the work we've been doing in terms of helping people to understand behavioral practices, how these companies can market better, who they target. Nothing just happens by accident. Yeah, so that's kind of what we do.
This is a passion.
Yeah, the research, yeah, of course, yeah.
And would you say this, ClearView, your business that you founded, came from, a passion from the research that you were doing?
100%, yeah. Because what happened, when I got into my last year of uni, I was just at a place where I was like, what am I going to do? And I was just like, look, I really love what I'm doing. And how we basically got our first contract is someone who wanted to hire me to come and work at their organization. I was like, look, I'm not going to take the job, but I'll happily complete the task for you. And if you hire my consultancy, we can do that. And at the time, nothing even existed. And I just went to my other 2 co-founders and said, look, let's just make this happen. And I thought, damn, someone's going to pay me 5 figures to do this. And I was like, yeah, let's just make it happen. I just took the contract and never looked back.
What year was that?
That was in 2015.
Wow, and
So
still
it's been
going
10
strong.
years. Yeah.
Still going strong, 10 years deep.
Is that where you say most of your energy is going into right now?
Yeah, I say most because it continuously grows. So, and the reason why I really enjoyed it is because I said, over the 10 years, it's taught me so much about business first and foremost, which is very tough and challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that even for a lot of the listeners and particularly those who will be inside, I talk to so much, and particularly men who want to get out and then say they're going to do a business, and it is very tough. And I think a lot of times it's not just as simple as, oh yeah, you got transferable skills. There's a lot of new skills that you actually have to develop. There's a lot of character traits that you actually have to shift and change.
Yep.
And it takes a lot and it's tough. And we've been able to build something from, putting in a few £100 to a 7-figure business in that time. Over the last 5 years, we've been at that stage. And that takes a lot.
I think people underestimate how much it takes to start it and keep it running. And then when you're trying to take it to the next level.
Yeah, and that takes a long. Yeah, so again, it's only, even in that 10-year journey, just to correct myself, it's only in the last real 4 years we've been able to just really scale like crazy and start to hit those type of numbers. Like before that, it's just a lot of trials and tribulation.
Mm-hmm.
But we still stuck in, we're still growing, we still had up moments, down moments. But even like now, we can be in a down moment, but it's, because sometimes you're so big in that scale, people don't think it's a down moment, but it is.
But people don't understand that unless you're a business owner.
Yeah.
Because you understand where you're trying to take it, what it takes to run it. There's a good quote someone mentioned, they see the success, they don't see the hard work behind it.
Of course.
You know what I mean? And I think it's really powerful to hear someone say, we grew our business to 7 figures. Who's a black man from London who was falsely accused of a crime and rightly so acquitted and now doing this. It's really inspirational to hear. You know what I mean? I really hope you continue to spread this, what you do, and spread your message, because I think it's really important and powerful. But also, how does it get received, the work you do and who you are and where you've come from in terms of where you are now and where you've been?
Yeah. So to us, very positive, to be honest. Like it's not, I have a whole book where I've shared like a lot of my past, which has obviously only been the last 2 years. But prior to that, for me, I'm just one of those people, look, I'm just here to make things happen. I really don't make any excuses. I know various things exist out there and there's all forms of discrimination and all sorts happening. But for me, it's just like, look, I'm just going to do whatever it takes. And I have strong faith that look, these things are going to happen. And it's just really as simple as that.
So talk to us about your book. It's That Peckham Boy. What do you still, associate yourself with the Peckham Boy? Yeah,
of course, because if not, that would be crazy to do a book with that title. Definitely. I'm in Peckham all the time. I love Peckham. Peckham is like where home is for me. So again, I think with the book, it took me about 5 years to write it. So I published it 2 years ago. And the reason why I shared the 5 years, because again, showing people how long that process is from when I had the idea in late 2017 to then in 2022, publishing. And I've had to go through a whole process of learn how to write a book and just everything else that comes in between. But I really enjoyed it. So and the reason why I share that is because I could have done the book earlier, but for me, a big goal was like, look, I actually want this to be a published book. I don't want to self-publish. That is definitely an option. And I know that when it comes to publishing, particularly people like me, when I say like me, just being black alone, you're talking about less than 1% anyway. Of even just ethnic minorities, hardly is rare. It's even hard for white people to get published. Again, it's just a very difficult industry to break in.
Having said that though, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a bidding war.
Yeah.
Between, was it
six?
Six.
Yeah.
Wow. See, okay, I misheard. Yeah. It was 6 publishers. Wow. And bidding war as in they want to publish the book.
Yeah, they're all pitching. So that was all crazy because like when you write the book, it's kind of like just writing in the dark. And then all of a sudden then my agent sends it out. And then it's like, oh, damn, someone's already offered a deal. And this is like, okay, this is crazy. And then my agent's like, yeah, you don't need to take this. Even my mom's like, you don't need to take this. I think, what does my mom know? But she's like, you don't need to take it. It was the right advice. And yeah, then you just end up being in this whole scenario where all of them are pitching to buy your book, which is just crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's.
What made you actually want to write the book?
I just thought it was just an important story to share. And I'm a big believer in breaking stereotypes and challenging them as well. Because again, I think it's very easy, like where I am today, where people feel like, oh, you've been able to achieve this and this, but actually make it very clear to people, there's also this Kenny. And actually, you understanding that Kenny is very important to understanding this. And also a big thing for me in the book, and I guess it's a underlying thing I'm trying to show people, is that particularly when people are young, no one should be trying to write them off, because you genuinely never know what anyone's going to become. And that is something that's so important. And greatness doesn't just come from certain places, it comes from everywhere.
You said something really, I think, important here. You said, in order to understand this Kenny, you have to understand that Kenny. Why?
Because I feel like it's important when people see maybe how I behave, the type of moves I make, or just how I go about doing stuff. A lot of that is based off just my upbringing and just different life things I've had to go through that have molded me and shaped my character to be the person I am today. And without those experiences, without those people, I wouldn't be where I am today. So for me to ignore that just wouldn't be genuine. And for me, it's very much a story that I feel is important to own. And also just to highlight to people that, look, so when they're seeing other people who may leave prison or whatever, understanding that, I guess one of the challenges I have is that when I meet a lot of people in prison and they want to get out and do what they want to do, a lot of times we're just trying to tell people that the best you can do is get employed and be legit. That's basically what you're telling people about telling people. And for me, it's like, why do you need to stop dreaming because you've been there? And no one really talks about that. All we really tell people to do is go and be legit. Some people, it's like they were legit anyway, because of course it could be for all types of reasons. But it's just like, get a job, keep your head down.
And don't get in trouble.
I
think, the
dream is key.
Do people see you differently after the book? And what kind of feedback have you had?
Everything's been positive. I guess, do they see me differently? I guess they just know me much more. People just feel like they know you much more before you even say anything, which I guess is
it's a bit strange, isn't it?
A bit strange. Yeah. Like you might meet someone for the first time, all I know is what they put on LinkedIn, but they just feel like they really know. So they don't really even ask you anything like that. So it's,
have you learned anything about yourself?
Since writing the book?
Good question.
That's a good question. Do you know? I would say that I'm very creative, because it took a lot to write that book.
Nice.
And I wouldn't have called myself a creative before producing that book, despite everything I've done.
Oh, listen, you're definitely creative, bro, because from time you're juggling the roads and normal life, you have to be creative. You have to. Standards.
Transferable skills.
But also like code switching, because you're in City Hall, but you're also trapping. Yeah, let's keep it real. But you can't bring that trapping Kenny to City Hall. It's a different Kenny. That's creativity in itself, bro. Don't you're diminishing your skills, bro. You've been creative. You get me? But having said that, how do you navigate now going into the world of, CEOs, politicians, academics from prison? How do you navigate those rooms and spaces?
Very comfortably, So I know a lot of times people talk about like imposter syndrome and whatnot. I'll be honest, it's not something I've really suffered from at all. And I would say a lot of that's to do with when I'm in a room, I just feel like I understand the value that I bring. And even if I'm in a room with people who are experts, they know this, they know that, I still feel like I'm always very comfortable in my own skin to, one, either ask questions, or two, connect to people, have different conversations. And I feel like a big part of feeling confident is equipping yourself. And a lot of that's to do with, for example, having habits like reading the news.
Okay.
Something so basic. But actually by reading the news constantly, I'm reading good newspapers. So again, I read a lot of the FT, Economist, papers like that I'm actually paying for.
Yeah.
And really interested in articles. Obviously not saying there's anything wrong with the others, but I'm just using it as an example. Like a lot of that gives you knowledge on what's going on out there in the world. And when I meet all these types of people, guess what? A lot of times they're less interested in what you're doing, but your opinion about these things.
Facts. Yeah, that's true.
And so again, there's so much cheat codes of how you can be comfortable in those environments. Because a lot of times, even talking about entrepreneurship, different things, people are like, I don't know, I would love to meet Richard Branson or do this. It's like, meet Richard Branson and talk about what exactly? And what are you going to ask him that Google or Chat GPT can't answer?
Sure.
You need to have a conversation. It needs to be interesting. Now, if you don't really know much, what interesting conversation you're going to have that's going to be intriguing to make them want to talk more and want you to even continue this conversation later on. And so for me, I've learned lots of basics and fundamentals. I felt that have helped me to navigate being in different rooms. And yes, a lot of times, sometimes also if you don't have much to contribute, then focus more on listening and then you have something to contribute.
Just listen, have a conversation.
That's taken time though, right?
Yeah, but I would also say I've been very fortunate, as I mentioned to you before, like I've done philosophy from a young age, my ability to think about particular things, questions. I've been doing that for a long time. So again, it could seem natural and normal, but it's just, as I mentioned, even with the work experience, I told you, look, I got off my own back. This wasn't my school getting it for me.
Oh, what? So City Hall was your own thing?
Yeah, so I should probably made that clear. So I
make that clear, brother.
I emailed lots of people to get work experience. But again, back to the imposter thing, I think it's the whole thing, and maybe it's the wrong words and language people use.
Okay.
But like being in a room feel like I'm an imposter, it's like, there's nothing fake here. I'm actually here. You've brought me along. I don't know stuff. I sit in the corner, I take my notes, I listen. Or if they ask me to speak or contribute, I speak or contribute. If not, it's that whole thing of like, I don't think it's about being an imposter. That's just being young or not having experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
And confidence has been built over time. But again, it's not like you're going as an imposter because I'm not pretending to be something I'm not.
Yeah.
Just supposed to be in the room.
That's it.
Listening.
And a lot of times when I'm in the room, it's also about being in the room and not being happy to be there, just being in the room. So for me, but again, that's just because I'm always conscious that I don't ever want to be in places where I'm just excited that I'm the only one like this. Because then that ends up being, you try to constantly feed that for yourself and that gets you a high. Whereas actually, you should really be thinking when you're in spaces, how do I create the space for then other people to, come up the ladder and be able to be in rooms like this. So I guess it's how you see rooms. I see very much rooms as spaces that, look, if I'm here, that should be the beginning of more people like me to be able to come into these rooms. Like, I don't just see it as I'm here, happy to be there. I'm the only black person, the only young person, the only this. That doesn't get me excited anyway. It's much more about what difference can I make now I'm in the room. And as I've got more experience and been able to just, I guess, level up as I've been growing, it's much more about like, how do you create much more space for other people?
Yeah, and having said that, like that brings me nicely to talking about Onboard, the Onboard program. How did that come about? Tell us what it is firstly and how that came about.
So with Onboard, it's a program to help people who are in their first 10 years of working life to be able to get onto boards. So when I say boards, I mean being non-executive directors for charities, NHS trusts, private companies, whatever it may be. So we basically train them up, take them through a program for 6 months, give them mentors who are also board members, as well as partner them up with some of the country's top executive search companies so they can mentor them, help them to shape how their profile should look online, help them through applications and whatnot. So we've been doing that for the last, I'd say 3 years or so, and last 3-4 years. And so it's something I sat with another one of my co-founders, Liz. So, and how we started that is that I've been on boards for over a decade now. So the first board I got on, I was 20. So
wow, that's young,
21.
man.
Yeah.
That's very young.
So again, that was the British Youth Council. So again, I was on that board mainly. So even when I joined that board, it was just crazy because I was like, now I'm representing, I don't know what, like 7 million young people ever across the UK. We're going on delegations internationally to represent young people in the UK. So that was my first board role. So now I sit on the board of BBC Children in Need. I've been on that board for...
Oh, really?
So I've been on that board for coming up to 7 years at the end of this year. So I've learned a lot of things about boards and I've helped a lot of other people get onto boards. So with the program, we just wanted to make sure we can create a much more structured approach to help people. So people don't pay anything to be part of the program. We just get money from a particular organization and then we also just invest our time. A lot of people just volunteer their time just to help people because if you want to change what leadership looks like, then we need to let people know and understand these things from early on. So that way, even people like yourself, you lot should be on boards. There's no reason why you can't contribute and
definitely. No, definitely. I think in different circles you learn about what non-executive directors do. But for those who don't know what the role is about, talk to us about some of the duties or the responsibilities of a non-executive director.
Testing my knowledge.
No, definitely not. Just for those that are those that are listening.
So in terms of people on boards, so boards focus on setting the the strategy for the organization. So in terms of the direction the organization is going to go, you and your other directors will help to shape that and also safeguard that as well to make sure the organization is going in the direction it needs to go. If you're on a board, you'd also be responsible for, in terms of delegating responsibilities to the leadership team and whatnot. It depends on how big the organization is. That's the only problem with boards. Some boards are a bit more active and they're involved in the day-to-day. Those who are in organizations that are much more advanced and not involved in the day-to-day. But boards are signing everything off from policies to, at the same time, looking at recruiting, let's say the CEO. So I've been a part of all different types of processes.
No,
there's a lot to do.
There's a lot to do,
I think
yeah.
you passed the test though.
No, it was no test. It's just for people that are
no,
listening.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. We should, like, it's something that I think about, and, you know, being, you know, trustees of charities or whatever, you know, it's definitely...
That's it. But nothing to flag, you are legally responsible.
Yes.
Which is very...
I'm out.
No, but I think it's good. But what does it do for someone's profile then? What does it do for like your I don't know, navigating the world of...
So do you know, I would say boards have really helped me to understand the importance of governance and why we have particular checks and balances in place to ensure that organizations are doing what they're meant to be doing. And that's fundamentally what boards do. And by being able to have that experience over this long period of time, it just taught me so much about, even for myself in business, how I need to do things. And so that's been very key.
You're also a trustee of a few charities. What are they, and how did that come about?
Yeah, so the main charity I'm a trustee of now is basically BBC Children in Need. The others I've just wound myself off them slowly.
Why?
So a couple of years ago, I got married and I just thought, I need more evenings.
Congratulations.
Me and my wife, that was it.
I hear that.
Yeah, and
nice.
That was really
for family time.
Yeah, that was it. I can't spend all my evenings doing that. So yeah, that's it. No big reason.
What and what influences you to pick certain charities?
So I feel like I have to care about what they're doing, and at the same time, that's another thing with boards. Like more times when you sign up, you're signing up for a 3-year commitment. A lot happens in 3 years. So it's best if you care about what the organization does and you're passionate about it. Because if not, it's just, that's going to be a long 3 years for you.
Becomes a chore rather
than feeling like, I'm genuinely serving. So for me, it's really about how does this align with my passion and purpose, and also are my skills going to be needed on this type of board in the first place. So I'm always conscious, like when I'm in a space, am I really going to contribute? Or am I just in a space just to be another face?
How does someone get in touch with the onboard program or get involved?
So just on LinkedIn, just connecting with us and signing up on the website.
Coolio, man. Check that out, man.
And we'll put your other socials at the end as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So are you lot on boards?
You know what? I'm not. I'm not yet. I'm in the process of setting up a board for my organization. I've got a youth steering board, but I want to set an official board up for my CIC, right? I work for a couple charities as well, because obviously this is actually a charity too. So we hear about boards, and the other day-to-day stuff, I have a lot of interaction with our board of trustees. So understand how key their roles are and responsibilities. So I don't think I can commit to a board yet. I think I need to get to a space where I'm there. You know what I mean? Because the majority of the people that I speak with and communicate with, network with, that are on boards, they have a lot of free time.
Oh yeah, so
you know what I mean?
The average board member is probably in their 60s or so.
Yeah.
And is probably a
semi-retired or retired.
So that is that. So that's why particularly the work we're doing on board is so important, is because we're really trying to diversify the makeup of boards. Because like you said, a lot of them tend to be something like later on in life.
Yeah.
You've had a good career, had a good run.
Yeah. And
then you end up doing, but actually much more people need to do it in there.
Yeah, it is true.
No, for sure, especially if it's like work that concerns your community.
So now you're going to get a board. So
another
thing a board does will decide in terms of how much salary you should get as well.
Facts.
These are all the key things and
that matter. But also hold us accountable too, you know, and make sure we're sticking to what our modus operandi is. You know what I'm saying? Are we still doing what we set out to do? And I think that's really important for governance, good governance, especially when you're doing work in the community, you know what I mean? So,
and those kind of things that help you to even raise even more money, because people trust the fact that there are other people outside of the founder that are safeguarding the organization.
Correct. But it's also scared that they can sack you.
Exactly. That's the other thing. That's right. But let's not get people too scared. Let's not get them too scared.
You know what I mean? So yeah, in that process, you know what I'm saying? So I might have to drop you a 1-2 email for some advice if you have the time, you know what I'm saying? But having said that, yeah, you know, like listening to you, your story, yeah, I wanted to ask if you ever feel like the pressure, or is there a weight on like feeling like that your story is inspirational? Like, how does it feel to carry that, or to feel like you've got a story that is weighty, but also you've got a lot to deal with yourself? You know what I mean? You're dealing with the trauma, you're dealing with the injustice, you're building your business. How does that feel like to carry that?
Do you know, more times than not, I don't really think about it. And I think a lot of times I don't really think about it. I try to do my best to be like present in the day, and what do I need to do. And I mentioned it earlier when we talked about like, how do you feel about achieving all these different things? I really just focus on today and what are the other things that I really need to do. And more times than not, I think it can be, you get yourself in a dangerous place by continuously reflecting on the weight of what you got to carry. But I think part of that is also to do with, I really learned how to delegate things. So I'm really good at delegating. I'm really good at being ruthless about what I shouldn't be doing and what I should. I think like all of these things I would say is what helps me to just very much like be in the moment. But the pressure is very real because lots of people expect lots of things from me. And that's true, whether that's family, friends, I mean, work, business, all different types of people.
Yeah.
And my wife, different people. So everyone has all these expectations that, again, that you really want to meet, and you really have to, I guess, just understand what do you prioritize. So again, for me, what really, when you talk about the weight, I guess the biggest weight for me is more in terms of just day to day, just as a believer for me, like in Christ, how am I living? That's the first thing I'm more conscious of. Then it's really for me about, okay, how am I showing up as a husband, a friend? I mean, and then we get into family, work. And so it's really, for me, it's just more about what I prioritize, is where my energy is more focused on about the weight. Because, and I mentioned a couple of times about like character. For me, it's more, I'm more concerned about that than the weight, the achievements and the pressure, because I feel like it's just important to be who you are in all these different types of environment. And that for me, I'm more conscious of, because particularly when we're talking about, I know we talked a lot about work and different achievements, but I care a lot about the community, and there's so much different issues that are happening and that generally need to address, and the cycles that we need to break. And some of the stuff has got nothing to do with systems. It's actually just to do with us getting our act right and understanding that, look, we need to show up. And I could talk about that even just from a fatherhood perspective.
Yes.
And being able to say, look, I mean, a lot of us have to do better. That's the honest truth. So these are the real things I care about. So when you're talking about the weight, for me, it's more about, I feel a lot of the successes allow me the opportunity to also talk about other things where people may not think I'm going to talk about, but actually, well, we really should, isn't it? Because it's all well and good me being this public success, but if I'm a private failure, then what
does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Like if I can do all these things out there for different people internationally across the world, and I got no time for the people that I care most about, what's the point? So for me, the weight is much more about being focused on my faith, family, and understanding, look, am I showing up the way I need to show up there first? And then the rest is what is. I don't carry the weight of being black and excellent I'm just doing what I need to do.
That sorts itself out. Once you sort this out, it sorts itself out.
Because if you don't deal with those things in private, you're going to deal with it in public. That's guaranteed.
It also just goes to show, no matter who you are or where you are in life, that is important. Like that's what people need to think about and work on and have and feel. And I think that's really powerful as well. And the rest, I guess, is bonus.
Yeah, that's it. Because if you want to really stay on top of your game and where you're at, and you really want to excel, that's what you really got to focus on. Because if not, you can get caught up in their headlights and all the gas and everyone saying this and saying that, and people, it's like when people are not clapping, when they're not praising you, how do you operate? How do you move? Like, I don't need no one to clap. I don't need no one to praise. I'm just actually getting stuff done.
That's right.
And until you have that mentality, because if not, you'll let things that are external dictate how you go about doing things. And so for me, it's more about the internal within, and just like just my soul, making sure that's the way it needs to be.
I appreciate that a lot,
it's
man.
really beautiful.
Trust me. So Kenny, you mentioned about, all the other stuff is good, but you really care about what's happening in the community and things like that. So then what is the work you're doing in prison, and why is that important to you?
Yeah, so the work that I've been doing in prison, I've been doing that for the last, 8 years or so. So mainly work around 8 prisons, and so mainly supporting men who are serving long-term sentences. And a big part of the work is just to be consistent figures in their life whilst they're in prison, and also giving them that support network once they leave. So it's something I started with Lord Hastings about 8 years ago, and we just
big up Lord Hastings. He's active, man.
Yeah, so very active. So so it's something that we started called My Brother's Keeper, and so it's just really about supporting them, to be honest with you. And we do all sorts. That can be like book clubs, that can be bringing in different people to come and speak to them, giving them mentors. But then also when they get out, at least they now have a new network of brothers that they can surround themselves with, so they don't ever have to feel like they have to go back to anything, because now they got new, hopefully positive people they can be around.
It's mainly, the men are mainly serving long-term sentences. Yeah. Is that because, you could have been in their position? Is that why?
No, it's just more to do with, I guess, the prisons that we go to.
Okay.
And also now more and more people are getting long-term sentences.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately anyway. But then it's also their group of people who are least likely to be getting any services as well.
True.
A lot of the services are for people who are leaving prison very soon, right? So let's say one of my friends who I do talk to inside there, how long? I've been talking for the past 8-9 years. We talk almost every Sunday. And again, he's had a whole, 20-year sentence. So he'll be probably getting DCAT soon. But again, it's just, we don't have to journey with those people, and he's doing brilliant. He just had his graduation, Open University on Monday. So again, it's just more, we've just got to support and back people. People will be amazed how much people in prison don't ever get a visit.
Yeah.
And that's probably talking about 1 in 10 people who are really getting regular visits, which is sad to see. And then we expect that when these people get out, to just reintegrate into society.
Yeah, and change their lives. Like, it don't work like that.
Yeah. And a lot of the work has to start from within. And we talk to a lot of them, before we engage with them, they feel like, oh yeah, when I get out, it's going to start. And it has to start from your cell.
Yeah.
That's when it has to start. You have to change your heart and mind. You've got to do the character work, do stuff whilst you're in your cell, not when you get out. Trust me, the temptation and the challenge, you don't even know what you're walking into. Trust me.
I remember, having said that, I remember there's a time when I ended up going back to the same prison I was in before. Yeah. So I got released, boom, ended up coming back. And it was actually in Friday JENGbA service. One of the senior brothers was like, bruv, what are you doing back? Like, what are you doing here? You get me? And I was like, listen, unks, real talk, I wasn't prepared. Like, outside the world hits you, Cut a long story short, a few years later, he got parole and got released. And then he messaged me like, bro, I fully understand what you were saying. Like, I fully get it. I was not ready, but you having that conversation with me opened my eyes. You know what I'm saying? So it's facts, you got to do the work inside, or unfortunately, like myself, you end up repeating the same mistakes or going back there. So that's real talk. That brings you to our next question then. How do you feel about the joint enterprise law now in the UK?
Yeah, so I know that things are meant to have changed. Supposedly, but I don't really think there's been much difference, to be honest. People are still getting charged in large groups, still being found guilty of all sorts, despite their role or limited role in relation to their involvement in the
even
matter.
The role clarification.
Yeah, so none of that there. So I think there's still a lot to do, to be honest, around that, because it's still just being used disproportionately, particularly on ethnic minority people, isn't it? So
yeah, if you see, like, looking at the figures and facts, right? Therefore,
I think the one thing that has changed, I will say, which I feel is positive, is that more people are aware.
Yeah.
But again, when you're thinking about the next generation of young people, that means that awareness has to keep happening again and again for people to genuinely be aware that, look, this is something that you could get caught up in irrespective of your role, even if you have nothing to do with the incident, but they believe that, you're giving someone else confidence to do something, which...
Yeah, that's crazy.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And you can really stretch that.
I remember when that joint enterprise thing came out, but I haven't heard really anything since about, like, it actually I don't know, working or
being fairer, because
Yeah.
the application of it is crazy. Like, we could just be standing somewhere and something happens, but they can interpret you being there as encouraging or supporting it when
or not even
It's
be
a bit
there.
grey.
yeah, or not even be
or
there.
I just called you
Yeah.
before you done it. And
Yeah, it's
then
grey.
yeah,
Very
It's
grey.
like I've given you the confidence to now go and
Too grey.
do whatever. That's crazy. Yeah, no, for real.
yeah. So it's
Does it frustrate you?
Yeah, of course, because that you can't. There needs to be much more stricter rules on how people get convicted. If you're
Yeah.
going to, particularly if you're going to send people for a long time, then
And in most cases, longer than they've been alive.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the sad thing, isn't it? The length of the sentence with the lack of evidence.
That's it. And the sentences are only getting longer.
Yeah, for real. So, Kenny, what would you say to the 15-year-old Kenny now?
Say 15-year-old Ken.
Yeah.
My advice would be to be patient. And the reason why I say that is that I felt I got caught up in so much stuff due to the lack of patience I had about when things would happen for me and feeling that need that it should happen now. And if I was much more patient, I do feel like I'd been able to achieve the things I've gone to achieve, but without the headaches, heartache, trauma and everything else that came with it.
Be patient. Facts. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that, man.
Thank you.
We're also going to shout out some organizations. But first of all, have you got any that you want to shout out?
Did I say one?
Yeah, go ahead. No,
I can say one
go
or
ahead.
two?
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
yeah,
Okay,
go,
cool.
get up to you.
I
If
don't-
you say it, then it's just like I'm
No,
taking
go on,
it
no,
from-
go on.
Ah, that's
No,
fine.
go for it.
Cool.
Say
So,
as many as you want.
okay, cool. I've got like 15.
Yeah? Well, we've only got 1 minute.
Yeah, so I'll definitely say Spark Inside. So they do brilliant work in prisons. Used to be on their board some years ago. I'm an ambassador for the organization. It supports lots of young men and young people with coaching in order to really help them whilst they're in prison and once they leave. So definitely a brilliant organization.
Shout out Spark Inside. Come on.
And then also Spark to Life. They're doing lots of great work, particularly with young people. And so that's another great organization. The founder there, Des Brown, doing amazing work in the community. So I'll just go with those two. But
Thanks,
I
man.
mean, that's perfect. We'll just do one more.
Yeah.
So this is JENGbA, their grassroots campaign fighting unjust convictions under joint enterprise. And I think that fits really nicely with our episode today.
Yeah, facts. What we also like to do is interact with our viewers and listeners. And we asked you guys on our socials, what's something you do now that would surprise your younger self? Let's see some of the responses we got. So someone said, waking up at 5:30 to meditate, journal instead of waking up and smoking to start my day.
That
is a very good,
Very great
good.
shift.
Yeah, big shift.
That's a 360 right there.
On
Love
his
that.
head. Yeah, love that. Continue. Another person said, becoming a qualified teacher after going to prison.
Oh, I love that.
Love that.
Yeah, man, that's dope.
That's big, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely more teachers.
We definitely
We do
need
need more teachers.
Right, and with that lived experience too. And then lastly, the last one we're going to share is sharing my ideas over dinner with billion-dollar companies.
Come on.
Come on.
Whoever you are, sir or madam, big up yourself. That is amazing.
That's big numbers. I love that.
So I want to ask you two now, what's something you do? What's something you do now that would surprise your younger self?
Train, gym. Never saw myself being able to do a burpee before in my life.
And be consistent training too.
Oh yeah, consistency. But yeah, I wouldn't have done that.
That's dope, Kenny.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one.
There you go. I thought about, what business do I have doing burpees when I was younger? That was a good one.
For real.
It's definitely not my favorite. So
Burpees are, yeah.
That's
Gotta
hard.
do it.
What's something I do that I would say journaling, full stop. Yeah, because I used to see journaling thinking, that's just something that girls do, like, their diary and all that stuff. But I've been journaling for years, since 18.
Oh wow.
I'm on journal 52.
Wow.
And so I journal pretty much every day.
You gonna publish anything?
Well, I have enough things to publish from the content there. But the journals are just very real. And I would say a lot of the process that I went through in terms of journaling has definitely helped me in my writing, and also just the honesty and vulnerability to be able to share that in That Peckham Boy. So I would say there's definitely been that link.
That's
Amazing.
good, man.
That's cool.
See, now I don't know what to say because you guys have said some good things. I don't know what I would do to. So what would surprise? I think, and this is going to sound weird, yeah. Just being, it's going to sound so sad, but just being alive and well and healthy and thriving. Because
sad.
it is a bit. If
Wow.
like that would surprise my younger self that I'm doing. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
I think
It just shows how far. Also,
Growth.
just growing up and just being on
Yeah.
a podcast and stuff, and just
facts, just doing stuff that's no, but just doing stuff
doing
that
stuff
is
that
no.
is not in prison.
Yeah, no, but doing stuff that is worthy, that is,
Okay,
you know,
okay,
that's got benefits for the
No, that-
community. But
I
doing,
know what you say.
know what I'm saying?
I know what you say. That's sad, but also that's amazing.
It
How
is,
happy
but
with that young Zach
it'd be like
B
you're
to
chatting
be like,
crap.
oh my
Shut
god,
up.
I actually have a life.
That's the no, but in it, not like that. But yeah, but no, but you know what I mean. Doing
I love
something
that.
worthy or
I think you did
contributing meaningfully to
100%, yeah, for sure.
community. But yeah, that's it for me. So please continue getting in touch with us because we love it when you interact with us, and you can continue doing this by DMing us on Instagram and X at After Prison Pod. On TikTok, it's Life After Prison Pod. You can email us too at podcasts@prison.radio. That's podcasts with an S at prison.radio. And if you're listening on NPR, you can get in touch with us the usual way, but we'll leave the number at the end.
And thanks to you all for listening. We'll see you next time.